What's up, everybody? It's that time. It's the final week of the NFL season. Boy, has this season flew by fast. Let's go. This week may be a little difficult to pick because you don't know who will be actually trying and who won't. But let's get started. First off, we have the Carolina Panthers taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Panthers coming off a loss against Seattle, and Tampa coming off a loss to the Dolphins. The Buccaneers lost to Carolina 2 weeks ago, and this is coming down to either the winner wins the South. Sort of. See, if Carolina wins this game and if Carolina wins this game, they will be NFC South champs. If Tampa were to win, but Atlanta beats New Orleans, then Carolina is still the NFC South champs. The only way Tampa can win is if they win and Atlanta loses to New Orleans. Who knows if that will happen? But let's discuss this game. So, we know they're playing very poorly. Tampa is. They started 5-1. They're 7-9. They're having a struggle bus. I don't know what's going on with them. They got most of the pieces back, but they're taking on a Carolina team that has surprise. Now, for this, I am going to take Tampa Bay. I think this time they will find a way to win. I know they've been struggling, but they should be, able to somehow win this game and pull it out. And they would be hoping for some help. Then you got a battle for the number one seed and the NFC West champion. You got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers coming off a huge win against Chicago, and the Seahawks having an easy win against Carolina. They played week 1, and Sam Darnold turned it over late when Seattle was driving. It's always a tough battle between these two. The Seahawks defense has been playing very well lately for most of the season, actually. Their offense is kind of coming down the earth. Sam Darnold has struggled recently. However, they have still found a way to win. Now, in this game, it's going to be a tough one. But I'm actually going to go with the San Francisco 49ers to win at home and win the number one seed in the division. It's going to be a battle. I could see Seattle winning this, but I'm just going to go with the 49ers at home. Then, you got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Oh, don't look now. New Orleans is on a 4-game win streak, and Atlanta is on a 3-game win streak. It's funny because these teams are winning when it doesn't mean anything. Atlanta decided to win after being eliminated. They upset the Rams, who have been struggling pretty bad lately, and, the Saints coming off a good win against Tennessee. I mean, it's not that good of a win because it was Tennessee, but for them, it is. They're showing signs of flashes with their quarterback, Tyler Shough, playing very well so far. And Atlanta running the ball very well with Robinson. Cousins is not necessarily hurting them. as he could have. Like a year ago, Cousins started to hurt them. But he has not played he's played decent football, right? Decent. Not turning it over, although he almost did turn it over like 2 times against the Rams. But yeah, their defense is playing very good. I think in this game I'm going with Atlanta, and unfortunately Atlanta is going to help Carolina make the playoffs and win the division. Then you got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. There's not much really to say about this game. The Bengals will win, but Myles Garrett may get his sack, so he breaks the single season sack or whatever, and the Bengals will win this game. And then, oh boy, well, this probably won't be a great game. You got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. The Packers, well, it was just announced that they will be starting their third string quarterback, Tune. Jordan Love has cleared protocol. However, this game means nothing to them. They can't change seed. They're locked into the 7. And even though those Brosman versus Tune, I'm going with the Vikings to win this game because, Packers probably aren't even going to really try. They did just get Travion Diggs from Dallas, who waived him earlier this week. But yeah, give me the Vikings at home. I think the Vikings defense will pressure Green Bay, and Tune will struggle and probably lose. There you go. Then we got an NFC East showdown between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. Well, the Cowboys, both these teams are trying to finish up their season. The Giants beat the Raiders and kind of screwed themselves out of the number 1 pick. However, if they lose and the Raiders win, I don't know. But it doesn't matter. I think the Cowboys will win this game. I think the Cowboys will just have too much. It may be a closer game than we think because, it's the end of the season. Who knows? The Giants have shown flashes on playing very tough, but I think Dallas's offense will be too much for the Giants to hand on. Give me the Cowboys. Then you got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars having an outstanding season. They still are alive, kind of, for the 1 seed, but they need some help. They're taking on a Titan team that has kind of looked a little bit better lately, as of late, playing a little bit tougher, having a shot in some games. Yes, they're not winning them, but they're playing a lot better. And that's good for them going into the future. Will they beat Jacksonville? I'm going to say no, they won't. Jacksonville wins this game. Then you got the Houston Texans taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, well, we know how their season ended. Starting 7-1. Well, 1-7 since. They're taking on a Houston team that has one of the top defenses. And a week ago was the last game for Phillip Rivers, so the Colts are going to start Riley. So, give me Houston to win this game, and yeah. Then you got an AFC East matchup. You got the New York Jets taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Jets Well, they didn't have the season they thought they would have. They are not very good. But, the good thing for them, I think they're stacking up draft picks, so they should have a lot of draft picks over the next few years. They're taking on a Buffalo Bills team that, yeah, man, I don't know what's going on with them. They have not looked very good as of late. Some of the games they're winning, but they are not looking very good. They are turning it over all the time, and it looks like they're locked into the 7 seed pretty much for the most part, likely locked into it, but it actually might not be them because I think if they win and then the Chargers lose, the Chargers will be the 7th seed, I believe. So we're going to go with Buffalo to beat the Jets. I don't think this game's going to actually be that close. I know the point spread says 6.5, so they're thinking it's going to be close, but I don't think so. I think they, and if it is close, it's probably because they're going to try to not really play aggressive enough, and they're going to probably play conservative a little bit. But yeah, it looks like Buffalo's going to be starting the playoffs on the road. Then, you got an NFC North matchup. You got the Detroit Lions taking on the Chicago Bears. The Lions, wow, they really showed up against Minnesota, didn't they? With Green Bay losing last week, the Lions actually would have had a chance to make the playoffs had they beat Minnesota. And they lost to a team that, Minnesota took them down. The defense played very good, shut Detroit down, forced turnovers. Detroit is not looking very good at all. And, Detroit's run may be over. Who knows? They're taking on a Chicago team that, still is fighting for the number 2 seed. There's really no shot. So, they could be the 2 or the 3. So, they are going to be facing the Lions. This, however, could be a game that they do lose. However, with the way the Lions have looked lately, and with how Chicago forces turnovers, I think Chicago will force turnovers, and I think they will beat Detroit. And Detroit will go into next season finishing the year at 8-9. Chicago will go to 12-5, and if they will get the 2 seed, that's probably where they'll get. Give me Chicago to win. Then you got an AFC matchup, AFC West matchup that, well, on paper you'd think it would be good. But if you know, the Chargers are not going to play Herbert this week. And so because of that, I do not think the Chargers have a chance. I think Denver wins. They're taking on a good Broncos team that if the Broncos win, they will be the number 1 seed in the AFC and everything will go through them. I'm going with Denver to win. I think because the Chargers aren't going to play Herbert, I think the backup isn't going to be able to beat the Broncos. Broncos should win and probably win fairly easy to me. I mean, it could be wrong, but I'm going to say that. Give me the Broncos to win. Then you got another AFC West matchup, but this time it's playing for nothing. You got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Man, the Raiders. Man, after they won that game against the Patriots week 1 or whatever it was, they had looked horrible. Complete horrible. It could be the only year Pete Carroll's there. The last year he's there, no one knows. He's only been there for 1 year, and this could be it. This could be it for him. It could be the last game for him. It could be the last game for Geno Smith because I think the Raiders will have the #1 pick and they'll likely draft a quarterback. They're taking on the Chiefs that, well, I mean, they made the game against the Broncos close. I mean, but they didn't win. But in this game, I think the Chiefs will win. And I know the Chiefs have been struggling, but the Raiders are just not a good team. And even though they're struggling, the Chiefs are still the better team. Give me the Chiefs to win. Then you got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the LA Rams. The Cardinals. What a big disappointment and big time for them. And for anybody that probably thought Arizona would be like a sleeper team or, you know, they're not good. They're probably going to, they're probably going to replace quarterbacks. I know they've had Brissett going for a while because Murray's been out. But it seems like even when Murray was actually in, they were still not a good football team. They had a lot of injuries with Harrison being out, the running back situation being injured all the time. You had out for season injuries. You had the only bright spot really for Cardinals was McBride and maybe Brissett, even though they weren't winning games. They got good tight ends, so I mean they could build that, but they need a bunch of help. And they're taking on a Rams team that has lost 2 in a row. They lost to the Seahawks after having the lead, and then they got beat by Atlanta. And the Rams are basically falling apart. You would probably say that the Rams house is falling apart, falling down. The Rams are going downhill. They're in a slump, but the Rams should win and get over that slump and beat Arizona pretty easy. Then you got an AFC East matchup, which probably won't be close, but the Patriots are fighting for the 1 seed as well. However, because of how the situation in Denver, I don't think it will matter because I think the Patriots beat the Dolphins, but I don't think the Patriots will win the 1 seed because Denver, like I mentioned earlier, Denver should beat the Chargers easy without Herbert. So the Patriots beating the Dolphins here, it'll be good to get another win, but I think they will be settling for the 2 seed. And a potential rematch with Buffalo, but a likely matchup against the Chargers. I think. Then you got an NFC East matchup. You got the Washington Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles. We know how the Eagles have been this whole season. They've been winning even though their offense hasn't done a whole lot majority of the games. They have been winning because of their defense. Now, last time they played the Commanders on Christmas Day, they were in a battle. They won, but it was close. Or it was that Saturday, not Christmas Day. I take that back. Not Christmas Day, but that weekend. They struggled to win because Washington made it more competitive than I probably thought. But the Eagles, this could be another situation like that. But give me the Eagles to win. And the Eagles have a chance for the 2. But they need, like I mentioned earlier, they need Chicago to lose to Detroit. But based off of what I picked, I think that won't happen. So the Eagles will win and they will become the number 3 seed in the NFC. Then, finally, you got an AFC North matchup. The winner of this wins the AFC North. You got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, well, for a while, the Steelers were in first. They are still in first, but they were kind of in control. And the Ravens were not. But the Ravens had started winning. The Steelers started struggling. The Steelers lost last week to the Browns, which hurt because, if they would have beat the Browns, they would have won the division. The Ravens had a game against Green Bay. They had to win, and they got it, and they won. And good news for them, Lamar Jackson's back. And I don't know. I think the Steelers, unfortunately, I think Baltimore wins this game. I think Metcalf being out is going to hurt the Steelers. Baltimore is going to be having a better chance. If they can run the ball with Henry like they did against Green Bay. I think Baltimore wins this game. I know it could go either way, but give me Baltimore to win. And I think there's going to be a heavy dose of Derrick Henry. And give me Baltimore to win, and they will be winning the division. And Pittsburgh, well, I'd like to say that maybe this might be the last game for Aaron Rodgers. And he will not lead them to the playoffs. See you guys. That was it. That was week 18 of the NFL. Let's see how we do. And we'll see. Thanks for watching.